coming past. The innocent can never last. Wake me up.
How much time before there's regular travel back and forth to Mars? Like a real civilization on Mars?
The threshold that really matters is, do we have enough resources on Mars such that if the spaceships from Earth stop coming,
You can survive.
Yeah. You gotta have all the things necessary to sustain civilization on Mars. And the reason that the ships from Earth stopped coming could be World War III, or it could be due to a slow decline of civilization. So civilization here on Earth could end with a bang or a whimper.
Or natural disasters.
Yeah.
Asteroid impact,
Yeah, that'd
super
be
volcano.
up in the bang category.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to take a while to build a real civilization.
Mars is the Roman god of war. His equivalent in Greek mythology is Ares, but the prestige of Mars in Rome is far superior to what Ares had in ancient Greece. Mars is the son of Jupiter and Juno, the gods who rule the universe. The Roman god of war was usually represented as a mature, strong, bearded man. His appearance was more majestic than that of Ares, who was often represented as a young and impulsive god. The Roman god crossed the battlefields next to the demons Virtus and Honor. Thus, he favored those who fought with honor. Ares was followed by his sons Phobos and Deimos, entities who depicted fear and terror. Although Ares was a god despised among the Olympian gods and barely worshipped among men for his violent and cruel nature, Mars was worshipped in Rome. According to Roman myths, he was the father of the twins Romulus and Remus. The former was the founder of the city of Rome. Mars had the goddess of love Venus as his lover, equivalent to the goddess Aphrodite in Greek mythology. In the early Roman cults, Mars was an agricultural deity. But as Roman society developed and expanded territorially with the conquests, the role of the god also changed. His warlike attributes became more valued. The god came to be seen as a warrior god and protected the Romans in the conquests. The shield of Mars was kept in the Roman Forum by its priests. Mars was a deeply celebrated god in Rome. With each victory of the legions, the Romans honored the god with feasts in his honor. Emperor Octavius Augustus said Mars was an avenging god. This allowed him to justify the persecution of the senators who had murdered Julius Caesar, his uncle and adopted father. Although his cult as a god of war grew, Mars never ceased to play his role as an agrarian deity. As protector of the harvests, the month of March was consecrated in his honor.
Did you say you were going to take it back?
See, look, even here it's saying to receive the scroll and to break open its seals. Oh my goodness, I didn't even realise this was here. I used this picture in a video the other day. That is Apollyon the Destroyer. Mars, the Roman god of war.
Yeah, well, Roxy, a lot happens next, but before we get to that point, Senator Marco Rubio, as you know, was born and raised in Miami. Today, we take a look at where he started and how in more than 2 decades he has climbed the political ladder almost all the way to the top. Senator Marco Rubio, now officially the nominee to be Secretary of State in Donald Trump's second term. Rubio will be the first Hispanic to hold the post of America's top diplomat. But let's take a look at Rubio's trajectory that started right here in South Florida. Rubio, who's now 53 years old, is the son of Cuban immigrants who came to this country prior to the revolution. Rubio says he was drawn to public service, partly because of his grandfather, who saw his homeland destroyed by communism. An attorney by trade, his political career started in the city of West Miami, where he served as a commissioner. He was then elected to the Florida House of Representatives in 2000. 3 years later, he was elected Speaker of the House. His ascension to power continued. In 2010, he was elected to the Senate, where he's now serving a third term. In 2016, Rubio ran for president but could not clinch the Republican nomination. It was during that crowded campaign where Rubio and his new boss, President-elect Donald Trump, got into spats. FIU politics professor Eduardo Gamarra describes Rubio as someone who has extraordinary analytical skills and experience for the job. Rubio also happens to be a professor at FIU.
From the perspective of somebody who studies Latin America, it's always great to have somebody that knowledgeable and who happens to be Latin American in the end.
Assuming Rubio is confirmed by the Senate, his seat will become vacant. Governor Ron DeSantis will then have to choose his replacement. Lots of names floating around.
And we've got that same representation of the Holy of Holies type thing. And him raising out of it Apollyon the Destroyer, the Antichrist. That is not Jesus. I don't think it takes much to work out that that's not Jesus.
We continue our coverage this morning of Pope Francis in America with Nora at the White House. Nora?
Thank you, Gail. You know, Pope Francis is also going to celebrate his first Mass in the United States, and that is at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Now, he is the third Pope to visit the Basilica that is on the Catholic University of America campus. And Chip Reed is there to show us what to expect this afternoon. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning. You know, around here, most people simply call it the Shrine, and it is a beautiful building. It is the largest Roman Catholic church in America.
President Trump, who attended Fordham, a Jesuit university, came face-to-face today with the first Jesuit pope. The rest is history.
In fact, they're expecting about 25,000 people here this afternoon to see and hear the Pope celebrate Mass.
With the end of winter, the Roman legions would march towards glory with the protection of the god. On March 14th, the city of Rome was adorned for the great festival at Campus Martius. There were religious, cultural, and sporting events to honor the god. The god was the second most important in the Roman pantheon, standing only below Jupiter, the equivalent of Zeus.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Holy See, followed by the national anthem of the United States.
923 also represents 14, and we know that Osiris was cut up into 14 pieces from his brother Set.
And Chekhov saw the long winter. He saw a winter bleak and dark and bereft of hope. Yet we know that winter is just another step in the cycle of life.
She called us this Thursday morning, 9:23. I thought, okay, this is it, here we go.
Gaius Octavius, better known as Augustus Caesar, was born into nobility on September 23, 63 BC, although he never recognized the title of emperor. Augustus Caesar was the first of the ruling Julio-Claudian dynasty to reign in Rome. Before Augustus's centralization of power, Rome was ruled by a series of suffects, but Augustus changed that entire system, becoming the sole ruler. His family, the Julians, gave birth to some of the greatest tyrants the world had ever seen, including the merciless Caligula and the mentally insane Nero. Members of the Julio-Claudian dynasty believed themselves to be descendants of another race from the Dawn Star, also known as the Venus. Members of this dynasty were so convinced that they descended from this otherworldly race that they would actually dress up as the goddess Venus. Even the ruthless Caligula would cross-dress and put on women's garbs that made him look like a goddess. But it all started with Caesar Augustus, born on September 23, 63 BC, who would adopt the title Divi Filios, which means Son of God.
The high priestess of the Olympic Games, played by actress Mary Mina, prayed to Apollo, Greek god of the sun, for help in lighting her torch. But under a cloudy sky in Olympia, a backup flame was used, which will now remain lit for the duration of the 2024 Games, a fire symbolic of the Olympic values of peace and friendship between nations.
Today, the Olympic Games are the only event that brings the entire world together in a peaceful competition.
But military, we're going to reach, and it's my plan. I'll talk to Elon. Elon, get those rocket ships going because we want to reach Mars before the end of my term. We want to do it. We will lead the world in space. Remember, I did Space Force. I did that. I rebuilt the military. I did a lot. But we have Space Force, first time in 79 years, since Air Force. First time, think of it, Space Force. And now we're leading in space over Russia and China. They were killing us when I took over, and now we're leading.
Oh, how amazed were you to see your roadster up there with Starman just cruising along with the Blue Planet? And how long will we be getting live views, do you think, from the car?
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Astronauts are really, really good at making pictures in space that look like you've never left the planet. In fact, it's almost hard-pressed to tell whether you're in space or not in this picture. You know, we've got some fancy backdrops, I guess.
Well, yeah, people come out and they've run out of anecdotes, you know, and they just start making stuff up. Yeah. Like that Neil Armstrong guy. Have you seen him on the talk shows?
Neil Armstrong, you mean the first man to walk on the moon?
Talk about a fish story.
Yeah.
And we want to have also great military protection in space because that's where it's going to be at. We will rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. And we will keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, which we're losing right now. And if we lose that, it's like losing a war, and we're losing it as the world's reserve currency. This is how we will end the era of inflation, mayhem, and misery under Kamala and Crooked Joe, and unleash safety, prosperity, and peace for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed.
Man, and they're buying it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's all, folks. That's my line.
Step aside, babe. Let a star do this. That's all.
That's all, folks.
Can I go home now?
Boom bop doo up, boom boom bop doo up, boom bop doo up, boom boom bop doo up. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here comes that rain I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Bop, bop, dum, bop. Ba-doom-ba, ba-doom-boom. Come around, there's nothing but blue sky. Anywhere you go, straight ahead, there's nothing but blue sky. Ba-doom-ba-doom-ba-doom-ba. It's gonna be a bright day. 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 I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way.